Hello, everyone, and welcome to League Review. I'm your host, William, and today we are talking the LEC. After 6 weeks of the LEC, we had a nice 9-1 week upcoming, which we did predict earlier with our predictions. Let me pull them up here. We did predict them last week that it was going to be a fairly easy week, considering most of the games were between high tier teams and low tier teams. Rogue took down Excel. Mad Lions took down Vitality. Fnatic took down Misfits. That was the one we were kind of a little bit worried about. Origin took down SO4. G2 took down SK. Misfits took down SK. Mad Lions lost to Excel. That was our one loss on the week. So we unfortunately did not get our top 10 or our first ever 10-0 in either NA or LEC or LCS. So we're still missing that notorious 10-0 in a best of one scenario. We went 1-0 against Fnatic and SO4. We won Origin versus Rogue, and we won G2 versus Vitality. These were pretty simple for the most part. If we go back over to the predictions overview, we are now 41-19, and I think that results in a 68% win rate. So we're looking pretty damn good, I would say. 42 divided by 60. 70% is... We want to get back to 70%. We have one game off. So if we could get 70% in NA, EU, and Korea... this split, that would be fantastic, especially with the LPL coming back, and LPL is usually our strength in predicting games. So we might have an overall very good season. We're going to salvage the season maybe with 70% in all the major regions. So let's talk a little bit about these teams. We have... Tell them my record in LEC. What's your exact record? I don't have it off the top of my head. Ryan's a tell my record in the LEC. Ryan is I believe he's up on me by a game or two, so he is above the 70% threshold. So that we're looking pretty good. We're getting better at this prediction thing, and even in best of ones, I'm feeling. Even in NA, we're starting to pop off a bit. But yeah, that the games this week were they were fairly simple, in my opinion. I think if I was a betting man, betting on the favorites this week was a very solid choice. The only games that were a little nerve-wracking were Fnatic versus Misfits, and honestly, Mad Lions versus Excel was a little bit worrisome. A possible Rogue versus Origin. But for the most part, everything went our way. Everything bounced correctly. This is, I will mention, going to be a very quick podcast. If you're watching on YouTube, you probably already going to realize that by the time you click on this video. But we're starting this podcast pretty late, 11:30-ish, which I'm actually kind of surprised. I wasn't expecting to get this podcast in. I was gonna do it earlier, and then I didn't get a chance to, and then we were I had plans up until 12:30, but people got tired and we weren't able to play Stardew anymore, so we actually got a podcast on time, which is nice. Rare for the last few weeks, but yeah. So let's go to our let's pull up our sticky notes here to block this random ad that's going down, and then we're going to pull up the Gamepedia page to talk about the standings and a few things. Ryan, did you have any things you wanted to point out for this week as well? I do have your predictions here, which we'll talk about when I'm making my predictions. But if you wanted to have any suggestions, we have our top 3 teams right now are all at 9-3. We have Fnatic, G2, Origin, all at 9-3, which I think are definitely our our top 3 teams in EU at the moment, for sure. And kind of what we almost predicted a little bit at the beginning. I think I had Fnatic 4th, and I had Rogue 3rd, but they're only 2 games behind, which is still plenty of time to make up. It's still a 7-team race here. Who is the best in EU right now, Ryan wants to know. Deep down, okay, so I have 2 criteria here. If you had to say right this second, right now, it has to be Fnatic, in my opinion. However, does that mean I think that Fnatic is the team that should be the favorite to win Spring Split? No, I still absolutely believe G2 should be the favorite for spring split, and I think that because G2 is a team you can never trust to take a game seriously until they need to take seriously. You know what I mean? like once they need to take it seriously, they do, for sure. They absolutely do. But like during the regular season, they kind of just goof off and have a lot of fun, it seems like. So there might be more yawns today because it's much later than normal. Usually this is when we're wrapping up the podcast, but we're just starting. But yeah, so right as of this very second, I would say Fnatic is the best team with G2 right behind them and then Origin right behind them. But I will say I think that G2 is still, in my opinion, the favorite to win the spring split. Outside of those top three, we got a mini clump here. I would say there's definitely a gap between these three and the rest. But then I would say Misfits, Mad, Rogue, and Excel are all kind of around the same level. Excel's definitely punching above their weight to be in that conversation for sure. And then Mad Lions and Rogue have been kind of wishy-washy-ish. So that's... And then Misfits has been a little bit more consistent for sure, but that we've seen a few cracks as the last 2 weeks. I believe they're 2-2 in the last 2 weeks, so it's not the end of the world by any means. But they're not. They were on, I believe, a 6-game win streak to start. Not to start the year. They started the year 0-2, but they were on a 6-game win streak after that fact, and I think they're 2-2 since. And Ryan also said that he was gone 8-2, 8-2, 6-4, 6-4, 6-4, 9-1. Where I've gone 8-2, 6-4, 7-3, 7-3, 4-6, 9-1. That 4-6 killed me, man. I had one bad week. That's actually the only week all year I think even counting like LCK and everything, that I've had an under 50% win rate. I've actually had some really good picks this year. It makes me kind of happy. For as jank as the podcast has been, it's actually been pretty decent in the predictions, which is a shame. The podcast itself has looked better, but it's like not as consistent. But the predictions are really good right now. They're, like I said, we're pretty close to a 70% pick rate over the entire all 4 regions. The minor regions have been kind of shaky off stream. Not been great. But yeah, we got... I don't know those numbers off the top of my head, unfortunately, right now. We'll get them by the end of the split, though. Yeah, what's that? Okay, so Team Vitality lost. SK has now lost 6 games in a row, by the way. SK is garbage. And Shulka is also garbage. You have 3 teams already out of the playoff run. They're not technically. I mean, Vitality will be mathematically eliminated by this week, but I've been possibly SO4 and SK as well will be mathematically eliminated by the end of this week. But so you definitely have a 7-team race for 6 spots, 3 teams fighting for the top 2 spots, and the rest of the teams 4 teams fighting for the top or the bottom 3, and then like one of the teams from the top 3 are just gonna fall into the next. But with that, let's talk a little bit about the games upcoming, and we'll see, because Ryan says he's got some bold predictions this week. So he decided to go ballsy this week. He said could just play it safe and coast a lead, but no fun in that. Plus some spicy matchups on day 2 especially. So let's see what you picked, Ryan, and let's see how I'm picking as well. So we'll put you in here. You know what? You get to go on this list over here. Match review, so you can see the list actually. And we're going to take this, and then we're just going to do a big zoom like this, here, like that, boom, 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 boom. Zoom in right there, and pull that sticky note back up to here. And there we go. Okay. So I am 2 games behind Ryan. Game number 1, clearly a Rogue victory. Anytime any of the bottom 3 teams are facing any of the other teams, it is just a safe bet, in my opinion, to just pick them to lose. It's just they've lost a lot. SO4, in my opinion, actually... Ryan said, be like you, me, and hit him with the big zoomies. Oh man, but SO4, in my opinion, out of the 3 bottom teams, actually feels like a team with like some momentum, kind of like CLG, where they're still losing games, but they just feel better than what they originally came from, if that makes sense. Still not enough probably to get them too many wins, but Ryan also has Rogue, and we're talking about Vitality right now. Vitality still only has their 1 win against SK, who we just talked about being a complete mess right now, and I think that it's going to be very hard. If any of the teams fighting for the spot, remember you have like 4 teams fighting for 3 spots. One of them is simply not going to make the playoffs, and any of the teams, if they drop a game to Vitality, SO4, and SK are just shooting themselves in the foot because that is such an important game to win. Because reality is that Team Vitality has only 1 win against SK. SK's only wins are against SO4 and Vitality. And SO4's only wins are against Vitality. Oh, and then randomly G2. You know? So outside of that, very weird. Outside that data point is way outside the rest. The only teams that they have actually been able to beat are themselves. If you take away their wins against each other on these bad teams, they are literally 1 in 31. Like if you picked against them all when they're playing against any of the other top 7 teams, you would be 31-1 right now. You would have only lost that random outlier of G2 losing to SO4. That is how truly bad these teams are at the bottom. They are Jin Air levels of bad standing wise. So with that being said, I'm going mad over SO4. Like the odds are in your favor to absolutely pick any team against those bottom 3. That's why EU is actually almost at a 70%. It's because you have such a consistent, like free 2 to up to 6 wins per week you can get with that strategy of just always picking against them. Hey Adol, how you going? How you going? How you doing? Or how's it going? I kind of mixed them up. Ryan, I'm assuming you've gone with the same strategy, I'm hoping. And you picked Schalke. You did not go with that strategy. Defend yourself. Oh, man. What the hell are you doing? Oh, my God. Oh, no. You picked Schalke twice. Okay, one is against SK. You're good at that. But, yeah, he picked Schalke against Mad. After I just built it up that they're literally Schalke, Vitality, and SK are combined 1 in 31 against other teams that any of the other teams outside of the 3. It is that bad of a stat. It's a very impressive stat, but it's you're trying to sneak that win. You did say you weren't going to play safe this week, but 1 divided by 31 is a 3% win rate. These teams have a 3% win rate against the rest of the league. That's how completely different they are on a skill level. It's not good. The rest of the league's actually very good in EU, and I'm actually very happy that this is no longer the just G2 league as it was last year, for the most part. I mean, you could make a case for Fnatic last summer split, but outside of that, it was pretty much everyone knew it was just G2 or bust in EU. And now you actually have a legitimate, I would say, 7 pretty good teams, for sure. And then, Ryan, you did mention that, which is what I also mentioned, that Schalke has looked loads better since Inax has come on, and I don't trust Humanoid. What is Schalke's record post-Forgiven? How many weeks has it been since Forgiven left? Let's go to week 5 and see from there. We're going to zoom out. Watch out and apologize for random anime. It looks like Fire Emblem stuff. I apologize. Week 5. Let's try week 4. With Schalke on week 4, and then we'll do Schalke. Yes, because they won the very first game. No, they had NX there. That was the game they beat G2, and then they beat. So they're 2-2. They are 2-1, 2, 3. They're 2-4. They're 2-4 without Forgiven. It's been 3 weeks. So they are 2-4 without Forgiven. It is better than their 0-6 start? Yeah, 0-6 start with him. So that's for sure. It's definitely better. But 2-4 doesn't necessarily provide me enough confidence to pick them over Mad, who's going to be facing them in a scenario where Mad, if as we talked about earlier, is right here in 5th place, tied for 6th place, 1 game out of missing the playoffs, but only 2 games out of being in 1st place in the league. They're bunched in there. They can't lose. None of these teams should absolutely be forcing their wins against Schalke, SK, and Vitality, because those are the wins that they absolutely need. That's 200% more wins than with Forgiven. Simple math. I like it, Ryan. I like it. Go balls to the wall. Next, we have Fnatic versus SK. I've already made my point for any of the games with SK, Vitality, and SO4 in here. Look at that. The first game 1, 2, and 3 there are all against those teams. So that means it should be a very easy 1, 2, 3 victory for me. And I get to steal a game of Ryan, it looks like, if everything goes my way. And that puts me only 1 game behind you. But yeah, Fnatic should be able to handle their business against SK, like I just said. At the moment, Fnatic probably looks like the best team in EU at the very moment. And don't use that to say like, oh, G2, when G2 goes and wins spring. I know. I absolutely believe G2 is going to win spring. But yeah, we got 3 boring matches probably to start the day. Probably. Unless Ryan gets it correctly. We might have a little spice and a little upset. Misfits vs. Excel. Closer. Definitely closer. I gotta go. Yeah, it is red side. So the red side tends to get upset the most, at least in NA. But I'm gonna go Misfits as well with you. You've also picked Misfits. I just think, even though I initially I assumed that this Misfits team was going to be very similar to what we're seeing with Immortals in NA. But the thing that I've noticed from Misfits is they're growing and they're playing as a team. They're not, and they just look good. They just look like better, and they're making aggressive plays. It's quite the opposite of what we see from Immortals, where Immortals is just winning off of their enemies' mistakes barely. like barely. And they don't look clean at all. So I definitely initially had them, I was like, man, when Misfits was in, I believe, 2nd place, and Immortals was in 2nd place, these are the 2 worst 2nd place teams. But no, Misfits actually deserves that credit, where Immortals still in 3rd place, but I don't give them nearly as much credit right now. I still think they're going to tumble for the rest of the year. You had a much harder time choosing Misfits versus Origin than I did Misfits versus Excel. I would agree with that. I think that even though I put Misfits in the same clump as Excel, I think that Misfits are on the top of that clump and Excel are actually on the bottom of the clump. They're still clumped together, but there's separation. There's separation of a lion and a rogue in between them. G2 versus Origin, I think it's just going to go G2's way. G2 absolutely plays up in games like this. As you can tell, who's G2 lost to? They lost to Mad Lions, and then they lost to SO4, they lost to Mad Lions, and then they also lost to Misfits. So I think that being said, I do think they will step up their games against Fnatic and Origin. G2 always plays hard in those games, and I think we will see some serious gameplay by them. SO4 versus SK is... I'm going SO4 as well. I'm with you. This time, Ryan, I'm not going to make fun of your SO4 pick. I said earlier in the podcast that I absolutely believe that SO4 is the best of the worst. SK is really, really bad at the moment. Vitality is really, really bad. SO4 is really bad as well. But they're not as bad. And like you said before, with Inact on the team, they have looked so much better than they did with Forgiven. They actually have found a little bit of an identity. They still are struggling quite a bit, as they're only 2-4 since then. But 2-4, like you said, is much better than 0-6. Yeah, I 100% agree with you, Ryan. If G2, like this week, I'm probably, spoiler alert, I'm probably going to pick G2 both games this week. These are the games that they step up for against Origin and Fnatic. And I think that if they lose these games, especially if they go 0-2 this week, I am now scared for G2. Like, that would be my warning sign that something's actually wrong with the team and they're not just trolling around. Because Origin and Fnatic are teams that they actually are they take those games seriously. Like, those are for sure the games that they take seriously. Excel versus Vitality. I've said a million times. Said it like 4 times this podcast. Anytime I see those teams, it's just a nice, easy pick. By picking the other way. It's just play safe. If you have a 95 or 97% odds, there is almost no point to pick those upsets. You can find much better upsets looking elsewhere in the games. Mad versus Rogue. This is a game. This game is intense. This game is a very important game. They're both coming off probably simple victories against Vitality and SO4. I don't think they're going to have to study too hard in those games. So it's not going to be a situation like that. And then it's going to be tough. It's going to be quite tough, in my opinion. Give me Misfit. Ooh! Ryan, I hate you because I was going to do... No. We're gonna keep that change then as well. I was thinking about it. I was thinking about that one when I was looking at your predictions. But I'm thinking Ryan has Rogue against Mad Lions. I'm also thinking Rogue just because I trust them a little bit more than Mad Lions. Just a little bit. I think it's going to be a good game. It's literally, like, let's look at the lineups. Shadow is amazing. I love Shadow. You have Inspired and Larson and Finn. I just think Finn versus Aramne and Humanoid, like you said down here, or you said at some point, you just do not trust Humanoid. They're just... Humanoid has weirdly enough been the worst player on Mad Lions still. Like, and I think that Larson has actually been one of the best players on Rogue. So I think that Rogue wins through the mid lane in this game. Until you start, you've been dodging Misfits all split. I have. I won't. I'll stick with my gut. I'll stick with Origin. I picked Origin against Misfits, and I was kind of thinking maybe I should change it. But no, I'll keep it with Origin. I think I just personally am a big fan of Origin. Misfits, I do not believe are the Billy of the EU. We get Billy next week, Ryan. We get Billy back and all the other teams. Yay. I'm so excited for China to be back. Even though it's going to be kind of a mess probably because it's going to be online. But hell, we're going to get something. Yeah, absolutely. It's a scary point. Like, that's the thing. It's like Humanoid has had a bad year, but that doesn't mean he's had only bad games, if that makes sense. Like, he's had some very good pop-off games this year, but they're few and farther between compared to what they were previously. Yeah, exactly. He's gonna Giga Smurf or Turbo Ent. Yeah, so I have Origin. So now we have 2 different. And we're going to have... No, we have 3 different... Oh, we're going to have a spicy week, Ryan. You're 2 ahead of me. But we're going to have 4 different because I have G2 against Fnatic. Like I said earlier, when they're going against G2 against Origin, I think that... it's tough, though, because Fnatic's not going to have to study at all for SK. So they can put all their energy this week into... Or, the week's already over. So, hopefully they put all their energy into studying G2 and practicing for their style. Sorry, I'm, like, itching my nose. It's just bugging me right now. I have a cold sore, and it's really itchy. And I shouldn't itch it because it hurts. But... that's the war scars of being sick, you know. I was actually sick. You can always know when I'm like super sick. Like if I ever have like those disgusting cold sores on my nose, and they suck. I hate them. Genetics suck. But anyway, G2 versus Fnatic. We have G2 going all the way. This week I've been going 2-0. Ryan has Did I put you wrong here, Ryan? You're a G2. You're a G2. Whoopsies. Trying to cheat Ryan out of a win there. Oh, man. I'm like, I don't remember you not picking. I don't remember you picking Origin there. But yeah, I was looking back and forth between your note and then like my note, and I'm like, something's wrong here. But no, okay, so we only have 3 difference this week. You said I feel like a fool for not picking G2. Like I have literally every G2 game to split, and Fnatic can easily revert to their ending ways. But I feel like Fnatic will want this super hard. I agree. My issue is when G2 wants something or when they take the game seriously, almost no one, unless they're from the LPL, can beat them. Like, I would love to see it happen, you know, because you always want to see like teams get beat that are always like winning a lot. Even like that's why I totally understand why everyone was happy when Team Liquid was losing a lot. It makes sense. Like it absolutely makes sense. But you never want to see, like, it's the same thing with football, like Patriots, even though I do kind of like the Patriots a little bit just because I like Tom Brady. But, like, for the most part, I understand why people hate them, and I don't, like, love the Patriots by any means. Yeah, you're unsure how Reckless versus Caps is going to go. I think Fnatic has to ban out Senna. I believe that Senna is by far Caps' best pick, and it's giga broken. And I think that outside of that, Reckless is going to win that matchup. I just think that it's tough. It's really tough because I'm like, man, like Perks versus Nemesis is a good matchup. Bwipo versus Wonder is a good matchup. Selfmade versus Yankos is a good matchup. Man, it's just going to be a very good game. And that so is the Origin versus G2. We got some good games this week for sure. I'd say Misfits versus Origin, Rogue versus Mad, Fnatic versus G2. Origin versus G2. I think those are all those are four very solid games that are going to be toss-ups in my opinion. So it might be a rough week. And actually, I believe me and Ryan have quite a few differences on those. We have 2 differences on those ones. So 2 out of the 4. So one of us is going to either or we could split on those 1-1, or someone can take 2 games, and you could probably close out EU at that point. But yeah, I'm excited. EU's heating up. We got LPL back. I definitely think if I had to list my favorite regions to watch, is LPL for sure, not even a question. LEC, LCK, and LCS. like they're LCS more so because like I have more like personal interest in it, and LCK is just quite a snooze fest for the most part. Though I do really like LS and Atlas's shoutcasting because they make it fun. They do make it fun, and I appreciate that. Especially, you can only take so much serious shoutcasting. If I'm watching every single game, I understand fully because like other people, like it's easy to tell what's happening in the fights and stuff. But like when I'm watching, I'm like I've seen a million games of League. like I know what is happening in this fight. So people make like having more light friendship talk more kind of feels nice, you know. It's refreshing. It's refreshing. But yeah, you haven't had a losing week yet. Yeah, I've only had 1 losing week all year for the major regions. So, and it wasn't EU. To be fair, it was week 5 of EU. It's my only losing week so far. So I am also probably do a losing week. You're on Fnatic's board. Like I said, I actually do think Fnatic. If I had to pick a team to win, which is funny because I didn't, but like I do think Fnatic, if you're just looking at everything right now, have to be number 1 just because of the way they've played recently. But I just think the G2 is a completely different beast when the games are very like they mean a lot. Like they really get serious and they really step it up. Craps will show up. I'm unsure about that, Idol. I think we're going to get a good game from Caps against Fnatic. I think Craps has a better chance to show up against Origin than it does against Fnatic, if that makes... That's what I'm thinking, personally. But I also have, like, this, like, random... I don't know why, but I have this really big love for Origin for some reason. I just love the way they play the game. Which is not very normal for me because they play very boring. They don't play LPL style at all. But that's kind of what I like. I just like I like their picks, and I like their team fighting. The team fighting building is actually very good. But yeah, I think with that will be the podcast today. We actually did a 30-minute podcast. That was much higher. That was a much bigger podcast than I actually thought it was going to be. Thank you guys for watching. Hopefully by next week, including Sunday, we're going to do LPL Sunday. Oh, I'm so looking forward to it. My picks are probably going to be so bad because it's going to be a crapshoot. Like, we have no idea what teams got sick, what teams have been playing well. Like, we have no clue. It's been like 6 weeks since our first one. But yeah, that will be fun and exciting. I cannot wait. That will probably get my lifeblood back in the league. Just me missing LPL, it's like cocaine for me. I need those team fights. I need that crazy plays. That's what keeps me motivated to do the podcast and to watch all these league games. It's like I need that little bit of spice every day to heat things up. And we still don't know where Jackie Love is. Yeah, seriously, Jackie Love is still completely MIA. I'm guessing he'll be back for Summer Split, but we really do not know at this point at all, like whatsoever. But yeah, with the return of LPL and with the return of everything else, hopefully I get the podcast back to normal and I'm not just missing it because of. But listen, Stardew time is very fun. It's been a very important time for me as well. So it's not all a loss. Ryan knows what's up. I've talked to Ryan deeply about this kind of stuff. It's a little it's a bit of an issue. It's issue podcast wise, but it's working out for me. But anyway, thank you guys. And you'll be disappointed about the LPL. I might. And Jackie Love was patient 0. Oh, man. I know, random question. You obviously don't answer it here, but if you do, if you don't, that's fine. If you don't want to do it either, if you have a Discord, let me know in the Twitch, like the Twitch whisper, so we can trash talk each other on Discord. Because instead of just like once a week or like 2 or 3 times a week on the podcast, and I always talk to like Ryan and Nikki and stuff on Discord, and always bring up my frustrations. Yeah, I believe you did say that on cast before, Ryan, that Jackie Love was absolutely patient 0. It is technically possible. It is possible, but we're never going to know. We're absolutely never going to know what happened to Jackie Love until he re-signs with a team. And I think what's going to happen is that one of the teams, I can't even tell you which team has an ADC problem right now in the LPL. LPL is usually very strong in ADCs, but once we find a team that does have an ADC problem, is that they're definitely going to assign big money to Jackie Love as long as they're competing. As long as they're like in the top 8 and they're like their next step is to have an ADC. Oh man, it's gonna be huge impact for the team in my opinion. Especially if you have a good support to pair around him. Like, give me it. Give me. You'd have to join our group. Yeah, I mean, I'm all down with it. I can even give you, if you don't, I can give you my Discord information on a Twitch thingy. Jackie Love is going to come back as Jackie Chan. Oh man, I love it. Okay, let's wrap this up. We're talking LPL. I am so excited for LPL. It is like I am counting down the day. Even the LPL podcast excites me. That's the issue. The LPL got me addicted to aggressive style of league, and then all the leagues this year kind of started out really slow, and we're it kind of sucks to watch. It dragged me down. I think that is also an effect. It's at a subconscious effect of me not being as motivated. So I'm hoping the craziness comes back and I'll bring all the energy back to the podcast. That's what I'm hoping. All right, let's wrap this up. I know I'll message you on Twitch after this. Thank you guys for coming out there and watching. Billy will be number 1. Billy is the number 1 team in China, and hopefully they take it all the way to MSI this year. Anyway, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you Sunday for LPL, which will be a blast. We won't know what we're talking about because no one will know what's going on in the LPL, but we'll try our best to make the predictions good. All right, good night.